So much to talk about in international news tonight. New Zealand has reported another 13 cases of community-transmitted COVID-19, all linked back to that family of 4 in Auckland, identified earlier in the week. The shock re-emergence of the virus, the first the country has seen in more than 100 days. It's caused panic in that nation and could see Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern delay their looming general election. It's time for Peter's international panel. Joining me now, former Senator Cory Bernardi in Adelaide and in Sydney, James Morrow, opinions editor for the Daily Telegraph and co-host, of course, of Outsiders on Sky News. Gentlemen, start your engines. Welcome.
Great to be here, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Good to have you here. Cory, no wonder the Kiwis are panicking and flooding the supermarkets. This has got to be the greatest knee-jerk reaction to 4 people being found positive for COVID-19 in all the world.
Well, yes, you're right, Chris, but you've got to remember that New Zealand were boasting that it eliminated the virus. And what they've demonstrated is the only way you can prevent this virus from getting into the population is to shut your borders, not have any imports, not have any exports, no movement of people or anything else. Otherwise, it's going to come back. We've got to learn to live with it. And politicians are exploiting this for self-serving purposes. Now it's Jacinda Ardern saying, let's delay the election. Let's cling on to power for a little bit longer.
You've been running this line, James, for quite some time now. Does this prove that to achieve eradication is ridiculous?
You cannot eliminate the virus. The virus will always be hanging around. We know this. New Zealand now stands as absolute testament to that fact. Now, I'm very sorry for the Kiwis who had to go through all of that lockdown, who thought they'd eliminated it. But, you know, the thing was, everybody knew that the thing would wind up re-emerging. Part of the problem was, Chris, was that because people thought, oh, well, we've eliminated it, when they had a bit of a cough or a tickle in their throat or whatever, they thought, it's just a regular old, winter cold or whatever, so they didn't get tested. So the thing probably kicked around quite a bit before it became quite symptomatic. That's the thing we know about this. It is not dangerous for the vast majority of people who get it, but it is very dangerous for a few, and that's what makes it such a devilish policy problem. But I do hope, Chris and Cory, that Gladys Berejiklian and all the other premiers and state and territory leaders around the country who seem to have decided that they can basically eliminate, with this suppression strategy, are keeping a very close eye on New Zealand and understanding the fact that you need to just understand that there will always be some background level of cases humming along in the background, and it is not the end of the world. People can still get on with their lives in a reasonable, socially distanced manner.
It is, without doubt, Exhibit A. Now, the Democratic presidential ticket has come together for the first time. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris fronting a small handful of media overnight.
Now, let me introduce to you, for the first time, your next Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
This election isn't just about defeating Donald Trump or Mike Pence. It's about building this country back better.
Cory, does it strengthen the Democratic ticket or weaken it?
That's a really good question. It's pretty hard to weaken it, actually, with Joe Biden. I mean, the takes of the last 24 hours are extraordinary. Firstly, Joe Biden had a script that he was reading when he rang Kamala Harris to say, this is why I'm ringing you, Kamala. And CNN and MSNBC, of course, blocked that out in their footage of the phone call, so to protect themselves. There was no rapport between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Joe Biden forgot what he was meant to be saying, and Kamala Harris is hoping that everyone's forgotten what she said over the last 20 years because she's contradicting herself almost every day now. It's just an extraordinary farce.
Not to mention taking down as hard as she could Joe Biden himself. Now, Donald Trump had this message. Let's have a look.
Did horrible things about him, horrible things. That's why I thought that was a very risky pick.
A risky pick, James Morrow? It was an obvious pick, wasn't it?
Well, look, it was either going to be Kamala Harris or Susan Rice, and I don't know that either one of them were a great pick. Let's go back to the fact that Joe Biden or his team, his people who were running the show for him, decided that he would pick only a woman of color. So that narrowed the field quite considerably. And then he had Kamala Harris and Susan Rice there as his potential, probably most likely picks. I think Harris is a good pick in the short term because it at least gives Democrats something to hold on to. But in the longer term, I think Biden has already peaked. I don't know how she winds up giving him the lift that he needs to get over the line. He was already going to get California, so she's not going to bring California or some other state that he needed in November. And the other thing, too, as Trump pointed out, Kamala Harris was horrible. As she said, horrible things about Biden. She said that she believed Tara Reid, who accused Biden of sexual indecent assault, accused him or implied that he was a racist for his votes on busing and a bunch of other things. So how does she then say, oh, well, you know, I thought you were guilty of sexual assault a year ago, but now it's cool because, hey, I might get to be president one day. Yeah, I don't think people are going to buy it. No,
she can't run away from the footage and the debates where we saw it for all to see. Now, the US has sent nuclear-capable stealth bombers to the Indian Ocean island of Diego Garcia as China begins live-firing naval exercises just north of Taiwan. Cory, both superpowers seem to be egging each other on here.
Well, it's part of, I guess, international strategy that, you know, you want to make sure that there's a presence there so they can surveil what the others are doing. The Chinese do it, of course, around our region all the time, and I think we're grateful, we should be grateful that America still has the will to do it. But it is going to centre over Taiwan, and if I was to make a prediction, I think the Chinese will make a move on it at some point in the next few years, but I'm not sure that that will spark the conflict or escalation that some foresee. It may be a bit like when Russia took over the Crimea. The international community sat back and condemned it but didn't do anything about it. Yeah,
I think it's just maybe just measuring the length of their stealth bombers at the moment, nothing else. Now, any excitement around Russia's newly approved COVID-19 vaccine has been quickly swatted down by the World Health Organization. They're warning that any stamp of approval on a vaccine candidate, as they call it, will need a rigorous safety data review. James, it's only been trialled on humans for 2 months. Would you take the jab?
Look, probably not, but I'll tell you what, Chris, this is like the Iran-Iraq war of public health here. On the one hand, you've got Putin's Russia. On the other hand, you've got the World Health Organization, which basically shilled for China and got us into this whole mess. I don't know who to believe. I don't believe either one of them.
Yeah, I don't believe Putin. Neither does the world. But Cory, I couldn't believe this. Putin says he's even given the vaccine to one of his daughters. But, of course, he won't take it himself yet. Shocking grandstanding, and he won't be winning Father of the Year with that one.
Yes, it's a terrible statement to make, to be honest. But I think if Putin was going to test it on anyone, it'd be on his enemies around the Russia and in Georgia and Chechnya. But let me make this point as well. The WHO, you have to understand, is incredibly compromised. Its largest donor, and I mean that outside of any government, is inside of any government, is Bill Gates. And Bill Gates has investments in vaccine companies. He has an agenda about running vaccines and making them mandatory. He wants to close down the world essentially until a vaccine is found. So why would the World Health Organization go against the wishes of their major funder and endorse anything that he doesn't endorse? That's really the big question, the compromising of our international health system.
Yeah, I thought China would come out first, but then again, I underestimated Vladimir Putin. James Morrow, Cory Bernardi, thank you so much for your time, both of you.
Thanks, Chris.
Good to have you with us.